This next question is from Tom at Circle. Thank you, Tom. You always ask guests where you think we'll be in terms of adoption within the next 3 to 5 years. Where do you believe we'll be in terms of adoption within the next 3 to 5 years? And what are some interesting use cases you believe will catapult adoption exponentially? This is something that we think about all the time. And as I tell a lot of people, when we started Circle 7 years ago in 2013, what I told our first investors and our employees and continue to over the years is that we envisioned a world where sharing value, whether it be between people or people and businesses, would become a ubiquitous free service on the internet. That we would be able to do it with the same ease that we do share content and data. And that public blockchains and ideas like fiat digital currencies, what we're talking about now as stablecoins, would make that possible. And I believe that that first phase of this sort of new global economic system built on the internet, that first phase would probably take between 5 and 10 years. So now we're about 7 years into that, and we're kind of right on time. I think that the technology is now in a place where we can scale that out. The regulatory clarity is coming into place, and major consumer technology companies, governments, and innovators are realizing these ideas. So now I think the next 3 years, which would take us to the 10 years from when we got started, I think we're going to go through that transformation where just like we all take for granted now that we can just do a free video call with anyone over the internet. I think in 3 to 5 years, we'll just take for granted that you can settle a transaction between anyone and any person in business instantly for free. That doesn't mean that will take over all transactions in the world, but that'll be possible. Just like we still use mobile phone numbers and the legacy telephone system for a variety of communications. We still have cable TV subscriptions or satellite TV subscriptions in many cases, but the ability to do all these things will be ubiquitous. So the first is just free ubiquitous payments for everyone who chooses to participate in that system. I think the second, and really the more interesting, is what are people going to do on top of this? The whole premise here is that we have money becoming essentially a new data type on the internet. And when you have a new data type on the internet and you have a system that allows it to be composable and programmable, then you start to see really interesting things happen. And so I think the innovations are going to be in the delivery of what we think of today as financial services, but many of those capabilities being offered through automated open infrastructure on the internet, what we think of as DeFi today. So saving money, investing money, earning money, mediating different types of financial contracts, a lot of that moving to this infrastructure. I think the most interesting thing is that I don't think any of us have any idea what the breakthroughs are going to be. I often use the example of, there were smartphones for a really long time, but cell connectivity was really slow, and the quality of the operating systems on those smartphones were quite poor. You couldn't build really easy to use applications, and it really took until 2008 when there was a smartphone, which was the iPhone, which had an app store where people could create interesting usable applications for the phone, combined with the introduction of third generation cell connectivity, 3G, which allowed for enough bandwidth that you could actually start to have higher performing applications. It wasn't just something that was local. It could be a connected application. And then the third is, Apple put, and many other mobile phone makers put GPS radios in their devices. And most people thought, oh, that's great. We're going to be able to replace our turn-by-turn navigation system with this or whatnot. But what became possible was this combination of things that allowed an entrepreneur to come along and say, you know what? I can reinvent the way transportation works. I can reinvent the way logistics works. And that gave birth to companies like Uber and Lyft and others. And so I think that this idea of programmable money and public blockchains and stable coins, the synthesis of all these things are going to open up things that none of us have even thought of. So in terms of use cases, I think we've got a lot to look forward to.